Hey folks, welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of E3 2016. I'm very happy to be joined by Toby from Warhorse. Sir, you guys are responsible for one of the most successful video game Kickstarters, certainly one of the most successful coming out of the Czech Republic. Tell us about your game, Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Kingdom Come Deliverance is a medieval RPG set in Bohemia in Central Europe. And we try to create a game that is as realistic as possible and as historically accurate as possible. So we try to tell a story that actually really happened in Central Europe. And it's sad that life is telling the best story, so we are going this way. And yeah, that's what we are working on. And as you said, we were Kickstarted funded in 2014. Now we are on track, so it's kind of a Kickstarter success story because this is happening.
And also, you asked, what were you asked for? Like, it was around $250,000, and you ended up getting.
We wanted 300,000 British pounds. So
right.
Ask me how many.
No,
that is 500,000.
$400,000, something like that.
Let's say something like that. And we got that actually after 30 hours,
right.
And after 25 days, we had 1.1 million. British pounds, and this was like we were surprised, of course. We thought that the people might like this idea, of course, otherwise we wouldn't do that, but the good feedback we got even from America, Germany, was amazing. So yeah,
this has been a fascinating project to sort of watch, because the game that you're creating is one that, like, I'm not surprised you got that much backing, because it's a very sort of underserved part of the video games market, even though, you know, this sort of like realistic take on this like part of history is really popular around the world.
Well, yes, you are right. Well, and on the other hand, no one did that before, which is kind of, if you look, a lot of RPGs have this medieval setting, so you have swords and kind of stuff, but it's always combined with dragons, magic, and which is cool. Well, I like it. I like The Witcher. I like Skyrim. I like those games. They are awesome. But we try to go another way. We try to want to show the real medieval setting. So you have a landscape that really existed. You have castles and churches and monasteries that really existed back then. We reconstructed them all. We have a 16 square kilometers map of real land mass with heights and valleys and mountains and stuff. We have NPCs that really lived back then. So that are noble persons that actually did something in the world and shaped the future, or shaped our today's Europe. So that's really interesting, and we're trying to show that. We want to show the people how the medieval life looked like really looked like, what topics did they cover, what problems did they have, what political struggle there was in Europe, maybe one of the first like real, let's say, national problems between Bohemia and today's Germany.
Right,
so
yeah.
That's something we want to cover.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, but you also have kind of like a survival needs system with eating and sleeping and actually kind of stuff like that?
Exactly. We have this as well. It's like, it's not in a big extent, but there's a big part of it, a small part of it. You have to eat and sleep in order to stay healthy. You can take food in your pockets, of course, but it will spoil during time.
Right, yeah,
Which is a fun story. I was fighting one time due to a presentation. I was fighting, and this guy nearly killed me, and I wanted to restore some energy, and I had only spoiled radish in my pocket. So I ate that, poisoned myself, and died of spoiled
really?
radish. It's like, it happens.
This game comes across like almost like a medieval Arma or something, where it's like it's pushing so much into realism that it's just compelling that you guys are creating this. So like, even is there something like 16 different points of like storage or clothing on your character as well?
Exactly. It's kind of like this. You have an armor system.
You've got horse armor as well here.
Of course, we have horse armor. Well, it works like that you have a different slot system. It's 16 slots. You can layer different parts of armor over each other, and every part of armor or fabric or material is good against another type of weapon, attack, slashing, stabbing, something like this. And you have to combine it in a smart way, because, for example, a full plate armor, if you think about that, it's a full plate armor soldier is something like a medieval tank, pretty much.
Right, yeah.
And with a sword, you just can't penetrate this guy. You can smash him, stab him, but the weapon, the sword, will bounce off. So think about this situation. Take a mace, crash him to death inside his tin. So that's what you have to do. And with this layering system, you are physically really layering, let's say, a soft gambeson, a strong full plate, and with this you're customizing your armor, and that keeps you alive, because health is nothing you can level in the game. Everyone has the same amount of energy, health, but it's the armor that keeps you alive. And as you said, the armor is not some strange number in your inventory, but we are calculating the physical collision between your weapon and the piece of armor you're hitting.
Okay.
So that's why we have 16 slots. Makes sense.
Of course.
Because you can customize this however you want, but if you hit, let's say, if you are completely naked and have only a full plate helmet, for example, and I hit you with my sword in the helmet, you will survive that. But if I poke you in the stomach, you will die. That's what we want to have in the game, or that's what we have in the game already. So we are only calculating the physical collision between your weapon and the piece of armor. But it makes sense, because if you have a full plate armor guy in front of you and he's not wearing a helmet, then where are you attacking? Of course the head, because it's unprotected, and your shoes won't protect you from head strikes. So
sounds like we might be dying a lot.
Yeah and no. Well, we want to make it, of course, we want to make one-hit kills, of course, if you hit the head. But on the other hand, it's a game. And it's a fun game, it has a big epic story inside, and we don't want to make it so hard that it's like unplayable anymore. So there's of course the compromise, as I said, as realistic as possible, but it's not a medieval simulation, but it's something that tries to give you a good feeling about that area, and it has its compromises. But of course, if you have a bad armor, there's someone coming, you will die a lot, of course. So prepare.
So what is the sort of moment to moment in terms of like, what is your, do you play one character? Is this all single player? Do you have quests? Is it open? Is it linear? Well, what are we talking about here?
We are talking about an open world RPG, a single player open world RPG, where you are playing a particular person called Henry. He's the son of a blacksmith. His character is not a historical person, but the entire frame is. But you are playing a guy that is living in a city which gets attacked by a foreign king, the king of Hungary, and the interesting part is that this really happened. So this is something that if you open a textbook, it's really there, and you will. The city gets attacked, your family get murdered, the city get destroyed, everything happened, and you have to flee from this place. First, you are driven by revenge. You are getting in the service of a noble who gives you quests, who tells you what to do, who brings you back on the feet. But then you are driven by revenge, as I said. But first, you realize. After you realize what is really going on in this place, because there's a political struggle, you will have to pretty much save Bohemia, kind of, or be part of it. You are not saving, like, you are no superhero. That's the point. You are just one of many.
So is there larger battles then as well?
Well, we want to show real medieval life, but it's also important to know that large battles is something you might know from Lord of the Rings or something, with millions of soldiers. This is not something that happened really in back then, and it wasn't even happening now and like every weekend. So
yes, exactly.
We will have castle sieges, for example. That's an important story thing in the game, but it will be something like the cherry on the cake or something like this.
Yes.
So
it's not going to be happening every 2 days.
Will be the big moment, let's say.
Super fast. Sorry, go on. Yeah, you were about to say. What's going on here?
I just want to say that this is a monastery which is actually really standing right now in Czech Republic. You can visit this place. This is really looking like that. And the only thing we had to do is we had to send our team there, take reference pictures of all the stuff, recreate it and reconstruct it, because it looks kind of different today. It was destroyed partially, but this church we are standing in right now looks exactly like this. With these pictures, we have a full-time historian in our team, we have a painter in our team who's recreating those buildings. We want to show you the real medieval experience, how it really looked like in Bohemia or Europe in the 15th.
Fascinating stuff.
The funny thing, it was under construction in 1403, so there's a construction site as well.
Oh man,
just saying. So.
That's wonderful. Those monks didn't look like they were wearing a lot of armor. Could you just, if you wanted, just stab one of them? I'm guessing it would be
I don't want to spoil
news.
Too much, but this is like an extreme important part of the game. You will have to. You have to investigate some guy who's hiding inside this monastery, and the only thing you know that he has a scar on his face. So, but you have to go inside and find this guy. But there's no way how you could enter a medieval monastery without like getting kicked out. So you can either sneak in, do the ninja game, sneak in during night, but you have the disadvantage that you cannot talk to these guys because they will kick you out. You can. Well, that's a brutal way, but you can just go in there and murder everyone, which is like one of them is the right guy. So well.
Presumably quite hard, though.
It will be quite hard, and you will have a great impact, a very bad impact on your reputation. People want to kill you. People want to imprison you. Will be everything you do in general in the game will have some kind of proper reaction. So everything you do should face the consequences. But the third thing is actually what you said with the monks. You can actually enroll in this monastery and become a monk. Something like a game inside a game.
Oh, really?
Because you have to get inside, pretend that you actually want to become a monk. You do monk duties, like praying several times a day, eating with them.
I was about to ask what a monk duty is.
Just
well,
a
we had to
agent.
research actually because we wanted to have the monastery, but we had to research what they actually did there. How often did they pray? How can we put quests inside? Does it make sense to go there inside? Was it possible? So we have our compromises, we have our ideas, but that's what we want to show. And here we flew away to a castle right now, so we are inside a noble place. So our painters strike again.
Yeah, right.
Painted. Everything is hand painted, by the way. So on one hand you have this epic story you want to tell. On the other hand you have as far as I would say, this epic visuals. So the big goal of Kingdom Come Deliverance is tell an epic story and raise the immersion bar to a level that never existed.
And it's interesting because
to be there.
Well, we have a lot of games that go back in history, but they always seem to, maybe they have to because of the types of game they are, but they sort of toy with the history they're playing in. Assassin's Creed was wonderful. You go back to Accra and Damascus and all these places.
And that's awesome.
Super fascinating. Yeah. And I grew up in a medieval town in Ireland. It's 1,000 years old, and a lot of this sort of stuff reminds me of where I grew up, and I would love to have been able to take a time travel back.
That's what I hear often, that it looks when we have forests, for example. Some of you might know our forests look really good, as far as I would say, but people are actually telling us, wow, this exactly looks like when I'm looking out of my backyard. It looks like a real forest. If you just do a screenshot, it looks like a picture. And that's what we want to achieve. We want to give you the illusion of a real living world with an AI system which runs the world, where everyone has his daily cycles, everything is working somehow, and with the visuals that you look there and say, wow, this is something I totally believe.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat asking what platforms this is going to be available on.
Yeah, we are working right now on the PC version, but of course we are planning for PS4 and Xbox One as well. So these three are the AIM platforms, and yeah, that's something we want to release in 2017. And here you can see Rataj Castle. That's a castle that's also still existing in Czech Republic. It looks a bit different, but people need to understand that in medieval times a castle was not a Cinderella castle or Minas Tirith or something like this from Lord of the Rings, but this is how it really looked like, and this is how we want to transfer it into the monitors.
Yeah. Very sort of functional.
It's like, what do you mean?
As in the castles, they're sort of
yes.
Now we look at them as tourist attractions.
Exactly.
Whereas obviously much different thing.
The castle is an important place, and you will even siege it because of the story. You can't say I want to siege this castle because I am bored or something.
Yeah.
But it will be connected to the story, because if you open the textbook, it was really sieged.
Yeah, that's wonderful stuff. When will we see Kingdom Come Deliverance? I know you guys have been working on it for years. I think there was an alpha for backers last year.
Exactly. Now we are in beta stage.
Okay.
We released the beta in March, and we want to release the final game next year. We don't have a precise date right now, but 2017 is our release window.
Right. It's a nice big window.
Yes.
I like it. Toby, thank you so much for coming on and showing us Kingdom Come Deliverance. Absolute pleasure. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, folks. The folks from Eagle Flight from Ubisoft will be here in a second to show us off one of their virtual reality games. Stay there. Back in a minute.
You're watching the GameSpot stage, brought to you by Airheads.